Kia ora, good evening. Welcome to Cold Night, New Zealand. Tonight we have a special guest, Jorge Arteiro. How are you?
Hey, hello everyone.
Well, it's so nice. Like I think we've been doing that. Like every single year you come and share with us. I think it's just become tradition. It's interesting that time is passing, but like you always manage to find some time to come back and share some news
That's
with
true.
us.
I think that's the third year that we're always doing October. And it's funny that sometimes it was on Halloween Day.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I always
And then,
remember that I always remember that in October, right? So in general, that's when things happen. Not sure why, but that's what happens. And you're bringing like some news on AKS Automatic. What you're gonna
yes.
bring to us tonight?
Yeah, it'll be interesting because AKS Automatic is there for a while, but was in public preview for a long time, waiting for some features that was, depending on some Azure features. And now that we going to GA. We went to GA last month, so that's production ready. That's why I'm talking about, say, production grade Kubernetes now without this management overhead. What means that some people say, Kubernetes is too complicated. Now we kind of simplify that and create a version that we call automatic, that we don't have to manage the whole cluster thing. You still have a lot of control if you want, but now we have a option that we call automatic, that you can go straight to your application deployment without caring much about how to manage the cluster, how to manage a Kubernetes cluster itself.
Well, that's very interesting. I'm just really looking forward to the session and see how we can, as a developer, right, coming to an environment and perhaps provision some instances, right? So really looking forward to that. Before you start, George, I'm just introducing the user group. So if you're coming here for the first time, so you know that we are a community group of developers. We love coding. We follow best practices on software development languages and technologies. We in general mainly focus on Microsoft stack, but we're open to all technologies. The intent of the user group to enable developers with practical knowledge to excel and launch their careers. And also part of AzureAttire.com, right, the cloud native group of enthusiasts where we get to share like the latest and greatest in the cloud native space. And George is it's one of the founders, right, so of AzureAttire.com. How are things going under like the group, George?
Yeah, we are. I was just talking about, with you about that we need to catch up. I think last few months there's not much published there on the channel at least. But I think the community is still growing. People still watching the videos. There's so many videos there, more than 100 videos, and we're looking forward to publish, all the meetups there. See if we can get the last few sessions from this meetup and for others, and also publish on the channel. But if you are watching, if you wanna share anything, let me know. We can record together. I'm very busy at the moment recording things for Microsoft. We have like a show called Open at Microsoft. And I'm also, what I'm doing, I'm trying to get everything that I'm doing and the community is doing and publishing there, even if it's on playlist. But yeah, open for any kind of project or any kind of technology on Azure that you want to share. Could be development, could be just infrastructure, anything cloud related. So we are open source as well. So
That,
just contact us and let us know if you want to record something.
that's great. So I hope people make use of this opportunity, as I did once. that's
Yes.
that's how like the user group started, really.
And
And
you
we
become
also,
MVP, and you did so
yeah,
many things. Yes.
that's true. It's interesting how things happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, connect to azure.com and you get to know like more about it and watch like the different videos that all shared in the community. We're also sponsored by .NETFoundation.org, which is the entity that looks after the different .NET open source projects in JetBrains software tooling for developers. And with that, George, if you have your screen, I can just bring it. Let me
Yeah,
just
let's share here, see if we can.
go. Here we go.
Yeah, that's my profile there. I'm a what they call cloud developer advocate on the advocacy team for the cloud native. So containers, Kubernetes, all this, beauty related on containers itself. That's why I'm also Docker captain, kind of help the community to learn about containers for a long time. And we just going to try to dig a little bit what's AKS Automatic today and tonight already. And for me, still day. It was summertime now. It's not dark yet. I'm in Melbourne, so we the most thing people ask on Kubernetes is always myself is like it's complicated. Something not easy to get started. You need a lot of
Yeah.
knowledge. And some time ago, we create something called Azure Container Apps. That's on top of
Mhm.
the Kubernetes, or the Azure Kubernetes Service called AKS. And now we also bring something called AKS Automatic that is kind of how can we simplify AKS to be more developer friendly, to be a lot more startup friendly, and also keep all the enterprise features that we have on Azure Kubernetes Service. The same way that Azure Container Apps kind of create a platform on top of AKS, we now have something in between, something that's not, Azure Container Apps is not AKS, it is AKS with, the management simplified for you. So you still have all the goods, all access to the Kubernetes API. That's pretty much, a Kubernetes cluster is an API that you talk with that API and you ask things
Mhm.
like deploy your application. So you still have access to that API. And, there is a way to, for the developers and operators now is using AKS Automatic. And now that GA is available for production workloads. And what that brings like Azure Kubernetes Service pre-configured with all these, standard settings or, that we follow in like best practice to enforce, policies and things to make sure that your cluster is safe, is updated. So the pillars are, configurations for networking, compute, security, and observability. So in networking, we're using things like we're going to see Cilium, having REST controller to get all the traffic from the load balancers to your application, the same way that we have, on the other platforms like App Service or other
Mhm.
container apps as well. We don't have you don't have to manage those ingress controllers anymore. That will be all managed by the platform. So also the communication with the nodes of the cluster. You don't even have to care about the nodes. We're going to create that, and we're going to see how that compute the second side, the second box there. We now using Azure Linux, very lightweight. We supporting GPUs. So you simplify the scaling of the cluster. Many people used to ask on AKS, do you have to pay for those nodes that running,
Mhm.
even if you don't have anything running? And now those what we used to call node pools on AKS, now they fully managed. So the cluster now is automatically is trying to find the cheapest node that you can run your application. And so it's not like before that you have to create this, bunch of PMs to run your application. We're going to manage the compute automatically and scale up and down and try to, optimize costs for you. And on the security side, we are using, Azure Back. out of the box. You don't have to do anything. We're going to, when you create the cluster, we do all that security. So locking nodes, enforcement as well, and updates, all automatic updates done for you on the cluster. The same way that Azure Container Apps is doing. They manage all
Yep.
those updates, and now we're doing the same. And on the observability now, you also bring things that we have on all the platforms, that not just observability of the cluster, of the virtual machines running, underneath there, but also getting metrics even from your application as well. We start with, Java, Node.js applications, things like that, but going to expand later. So any questions so far? So what is a lot, but
Not yet.
you don't have to care about those things anymore.
To be honest, I'm interested, like, because as a developer, so we're kind of in between here, like from a container apps to a full AKS, but now you have like this middle tier available that simplify like deployments and managements, right? So yeah,
So we
but
manage all that
so far no
complexity here for
question.
you. Yeah, you manage all that complexity, and all the safeguards, best practice. There's even a link here, AKS.ms, AKS Automatic. You can get more information, documentation as well.
Yeah.
So let's. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just put like a poll in here, just asking if people are leveraging Kubernetes in production. So far, we have, well, out of like few votes, one single person using AKS, but the majority not using at the moment.
Yeah, let's try to show you how easy now is to use that.
Yeah.
See, all these things are figured out for you, like networking now. We connect this cluster that you create. You can even create from the Azure portal, very simple. You're going to see that. And you're going to have all these Trillium, that's a Cloud Native Compute Foundation project that manage all the networking for you. And I have all the layer 7. What means layer 7? Means that all the routing from the internet to the container running your application, to the pod running your application, even integrated with DNS zones, key vaults. So, and you could have the certificates on Key Vault, you could have your domain on Azure DNS, and I have all the subdomain going straight to your application. That's simplified as well. As other platforms did that before, we now bringing that to AKS Automatic. And so, networking traffic between API 7 now, because before what happened is we manage like your application when you deploy on this, like Kubernetes cluster. We need that communication between, those virtual machines that now managed by the platform. So the way that we're doing, you can have public access, but you can also have, private clusters with AKS Automatic. That's something that was probably holding this to go to production, to go GA, was to make sure that we have this feature for private clusters. Now, customers, enterprise customers, or companies that only work with private, deployments on Azure.
Correct.
Now they can also use AKS Automatic because they know the communication, everything could be just private if you want. Compute side, yeah, we use this project called Carpenter. That's also from Cloud Native Compute Foundation, CNCF, that manage all the virtual machines on the cluster. You don't have to care anymore. They're going to create this group of VMs of virtual machines, optimized for your workload. And if you even have a new version that needs more power, they can just redeploy and create another group of virtual machines. Before Marcel, we used to have these scale sets. Remember Azure scale sets where you have to have the same kind of virtual machine.
Yeah.
When you create a node pool, like a group of virtual machines on the cluster, now we pretty much creating the VMs and we grouping them together with this project. So that
Mhm.
simplifies. We don't have hours to have all the same type of virtual machines. Could be scaling with different type of size of virtual machines.
Interesting. Yeah.
So that save a lot of in cost as well.
Hmm.
And we care about all the packaging, CVEs, patch with 5 days and so on, and GPUs as well. Also SLA, everything's included there. So I'm saying that because maybe for developers, just like a startup, they don't care much about that. But someone here
Yeah.
working for like a organization, they're going to ask for this. Okay, is this new version private? They can have all these, safeguards. Yes, we can have all these safeguards. That's why I'm showing that.
Yeah.
And yeah,
That's really important. So like for all the clients I work with, we're all dealing like with private networks. So it's all nothing is less and less is well, things are being less and less exposed to the public internet, being really
yeah,
locked down. Yeah.
exactly. And so we call this Carpenter integration called node out provisioning. So you can see here that they can just leverage, different types of virtual machines now. So it's more flexible. Um, you can also do, vertical pod out scaling, and you can scale using this project called Cader. That's very popular on the Kubernetes space. So now that's all installed for you. You don't have to care about Cader installation or anything. And from the Azure portal, you can go and tell how you want to scale your application. Similar to we have like all the servers, even Azure Container Apps, you have Cader there as well, where you can go on Azure portal and do the configuration. You can do that on AKS Automatic as well.
Mhm.
And so that's no dot provision. They get the skills of the VMs, and they can see they have different size now of the nodes, and they keep changing. They keep redeploying the VMs that they have available, and they can just moving the pods around. So that saves a lot. Before was I have to pick one VM size and I have
Yeah.
to stick with that VM size for a specific node group, node pool. Now that's complete dynamic, and we're trying to optimize and save money for you. But you still can define, the VM types that you want. If you want to decide that as just one of those types, you can, but could be more flexible as well. And that's good because the cloud's always moving. There's always a new VM size coming. There's a new skill
Yeah.
coming that you could be leveraging those new types as well. And then security is very important. Now out of the box integrated with Entra ID, so Azure Key Vault there, and you can restrict and block SSH access is all blocked, and so it's more trying to show here that we doing all that configuration for you out of the box. So classes are going to be upgraded, going to get these stable versions, everything be managed for you. And if you're trying to deploy something that's a breaking, changing, that to be notified as well. Not important things of observability. We normally used to create. Remember that when you create a AKS cluster, you create like a managed Grafana
Yeah.
instance.
Yeah.
You don't really have to do that anymore.
It's part
You
of it.
can,
Yeah.
because now with AKS Automatic, we're going to use Azure Monitoring. And because now we have the Grafana dashboards inside the Azure Monitoring, you
Yeah.
don't really have to have a separate. If you want, you can, but you don't really have it. I can show you here how that works now. You have the Grafana dashboards. You can even import Grafana dashboards to your Azure Monitoring. That's so nice. So yeah, you
Hmm.
don't have to pay now for a separate managed Grafana to use AKS Automatic. Okay, so that's very very nice as well. And you use Prometheus out of the box on Azure Monitoring now to scrape to get all the metrics, all the
Yeah.
information from their application, like scrapping that. They're using this project called Prometheus, all managing everything I'm saying here. Be all on the Azure portal. You don't have to install these things, all fully managed for you. So that's a nice thing. The deployment safeguards now is when you create this cluster, we integrate that with Azure policy and create all these safeguards for you, all those policies, and you can even maintain those policies updated, okay, for you. Like if there is a new version of the policy that we recommend, we're going to be keeping your cluster with the latest, best practice that we agree as a company that we use for our products as well. Remember, AKS is running ChatGPT is running, all the gaming that we run.
Hmm.
So we make sure that your clusters also be using, the best practice. And you can see that on Azure portal, you can see those policies as well. And so, not going, all the best practice for the AKS Automatic will be implemented. Limits, request limits. Let's try to tweak a little bit here the things. Building pod security enforcement. So when you deploy application that runs inside we call a pod on Kubernetes, and our AKS Automatic is going to ensure that you're following this best practice on the life cycle of your application. So when you try to deploy something, they're going to get those safeguards and policies, and they're going to enforce those things. So if you try to deploy a application, Marcel, that's like a privileged container that can have access to the node to the host, they're going to block these.
Yeah.
So preventing like host access, all these other Linux features, seccomp and things. So
Hmm.
all that restriction will be, enforced. Um, and we use these what they call, Kubernetes upstream baseline pod security standards. So we're following everything that Kubernetes and that we're using for us as well. Another thing new is what we call managed namespace. So that's also available
Yeah.
in AKS Automatic. That's you can now define those limits per namespace, because how like a Kubernetes cluster works. Once you create a cluster, you can create, you organize your applications in namespace, kind of folders or groups. And those namespace now you can define separate ingress controllers, you can define, limits for each one of them. So that offer now, that's in preview, still in preview, that's going to give that isolation. So you don't need like, 5 or 20 different clusters now.
Hmm.
You probably, with namespace isolation, a single cluster will be enough to have that isolation, done for you. So for multi-tenanting, applications or thing that people normally create multiple clusters, namespace isolation now going to simplify that as well. And yeah, one thing you can watch, I can even show you the demo, but there's a nice demo on YouTube. We published like a couple of videos that was on the launch of AKS Automatic GA. You can watch the whole thing, like 2.5 hours, or you can just watch these 3.5 minutes demo showing how that works. Simplified, just from scratch, from your code to deployment using GitHub Actions. So you can watch that, just a demo. You can watch the whole thing, like to explain more in details. I'm going to show the links here, and I'm trying to show you, Ronnie, if I can here, if I can make everything, my environment working here at the moment. But I have the recording as well. So how that works? Remember these automated deployments on AKS, on Azure Kubernetes Service?
Yeah.
How that works? Automated deployment is, I have my code, and then we're using a project called Draft. Draft is, if you go Microsoft, /Draft on GitHub is open source, that we look on your code and we generate everything that we need to deploy application. That means, for containers, you need like a Docker file, you need, the configuration of the YAML files to deploy on Kubernetes. So
Correct. Yeah.
we now can do that from the automated deployments on AKS Automatic, like from code to production, and they're going to generate all these things. They're going to create a pull request, send to your GitHub repository, and you're going to approve that pull request. That will be like a GitHub workflow that you're going to deploy your application for you. So I have done videos about that before, but that's now also working with AKS Automatic. And yeah, so the same thing that I was saying for instrumentation for your applications. Like you want to get all the insights from your application, not just from the environment. And that works, if I'm not wrong, if it's not that Java and Node.js. Java and Node.js is on this slide here. That's how that's working at the moment. We're going to look to expand. So yeah, you're going to also get from your application running on AKS all these, Azure monitoring application insights for your application as well. So nice integration there as well. Well, let me close here and go to my browser.
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
See if anyone has a question. There's a lot. The good thing, you don't have to really care about all these things I'm talking about. And that's the beauty. Like you can
I
just
got a
come
question about the draft, but like how things are, how it looks in your cluster or during the provisioning on things that you are missing, right? And also to generate those definitions. I'm curious about that.
Yeah. Let's say before you have AKS cluster here, like a normal AKS cluster, you have these automated deployments. You can come here and just create a deployment. So what we did, we moved that outside. So go to, that's a AKS Automatic cluster I create. I'm going to show how I did it. You also have the automated deployments here. You can do the same, okay? But if you don't have a cluster, you don't have anything, you can go straight here and you deploy application. Let me go back. You have to go like Kubernetes service. Create. You can create a cluster, AKS cluster. You can create an automatic Kubernetes cluster. Or you can just say, I want to deploy my application. I don't care about the cluster. I want to deploy my application. And they're going to give you a simple application, or you can deploy here your application. So the first thing they're going to ask is your subscription. Let's say go mine here. And in my case, they're going to, let me show here. You see that they have the steps on the top? The first thing you're going to set up just the namespace, then you go to your application, then you're going to define the cluster. Could be existing cluster, you can create a new one from scratch, and then you deploy. Okay, so they have a demo app that you can try here, but you can deploy your own application. So let's say demo app. That will be the workflow name on GitHub, okay? Because they're going to create a GitHub workflow. And say I want to use GitHub. I have to authorize like this. You're going to ask your authorization because I'm logged in on my GitHub here already.
Yeah.
That was pretty fast. They authorized, my username, George Artero. Then I have access to my repository now. So the one that we have the video is called, Controls OR. This, let me see here, the one that I have, Controls OR, yep, with the dash. So which branch I want to deploy? I want to deploy on demo, okay? So I connect my GitHub, I select the repository and the branch name that I want, that's the one here.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go next. You need to create a new one. Yeah. So then the deployment is going to ask about your application, okay? You're going to say, there is a Docker file to create the container. Or you can say, just do for me, okay? I don't want to do it. There is nothing done. Or I can just select here for an existing one. Let's say if I click, they're going to look on my GitHub. I'm going to look root, and I have a Docker file here in my case. I can select that Docker file. So I don't have an Azure Container Registry. That's not a problem. You can create a new Azure Container Registry.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because to deploy application like using Kubernetes or containers, you need to build a container image. And that's the first step here. We look the Docker file. We can even preview that one here. So those are the instructions that we call Docker file to create your container image. That's on my repository here.
Mm-hmm.
So once I do that, if I have a container registry, I can select one. Or you're going to create a new container registry, Azure Container Registry, and they're going to build your image using this Docker file inside that container registry. Okay, that's one of the features of Azure Container Registry is to run Docker build, and then the same you do for the deployment. You want to use existing manifest files, or you want to generate that. Okay, you can use Helm chart as well. You can just generate that.
Mm-hmm.
So I could come here because this one I have the manifest files. I could just select these. I want to deploy all those YAML files here. But if I don't know how to do that, that's the nice thing. If I don't know how to build these things, for existing applications, fine. But if not, I can just generate that. Okay? So you decide, you can pick, in my case, I could just come here, manifest files, and deploy
Yeah,
the
that
whole thing.
makes the change. That's a game changer.
It
So
is,
if you
yeah.
don't know, if you don't have like those files or those manifests, so you just get the provisioning to do that for you. That's great.
Exactly. And so that's the container registry image. In my case, I have to create a new one, like I said. Let's create a new one with that name, could be any name. Okay, could be just George Test or George AKS, maybe. Yep, didn't like it, George AKS. So yeah, I could enable admin for now, and I can just create that. See if it works. Yep. Now I have the cluster itself. I could use the existing cluster, or I could create a new one now. If you want to create a new one, make sure that you define how you want the cluster to be updated. Every month, every Sunday, you can customize that as well. You can even customize that. Let's say every Sunday, I want the cluster to be updated. In my case, I do have here a cluster, so I could select my subscription, and I have a AKS automatic test, and there you go. Name namespace. It's not showing the cluster, but let's have a look.
Still kind of loading, or
This
cluster is
one,
not.
go. Is on this other resource group, because I have to select the source group that they create for the class. It's called group, and then namespace could be just yeah, or Contoso maybe. So now I have a review everything that I did it. So manifest files, Docker image, and so on. When I click deploy, they're not going to deploy directly on the cluster. They're going to do they're going to create the container hash that we don't have yet. If you don't have a cluster, they're going to create a cluster. They create a new namespace called Contoso. They're doing the federation for your GitHub Actions. Remember, you need now access for your GitHub Actions to your cluster to be able to deploy. So they use federation. That's nice because you don't have to to care about that.
Just works.
Just works. The container hash tree now is connected. It's connected. It's so fast to create a container hash tree. So the GitHub Actions permission is done. And now they create a pull request. So got a error here on my pull request here. Please wait successful to create. Let's have a look if it was created or not. It was not. Looks like my pull request wasn't created. But the way that should work, let's go back. Let's go back to deploy.
Something to do between Azure and GitHub.
Let's try again. They double check again. Save by pull request. Yeah, interesting. They were to set.
Do you have like any examples of previous pull requests that have been created?
Yeah, not on this one, but I can show you. I can show you on the. If you. Yeah, I'm going to show the poll one here. That's exactly the video that I wanna show you. I can show the video. That's probably going to work fine. But you can go on his demo as well. Okay, it's just if you go on mine, you can just go on the pose one.
Yeah.
Okay, that just fork and you go on GitHub, and that's the workflow was created. Okay, from that screen there, that's the workflow that they create. So everything's done. The namespace will be created. They're going to, deploy the application here and check the class private. Yes, pretty much. There you go. That's the command that build the image. ACR build. Build your container image. And so at the end, they go and going to deploy on your cluster. So the pipeline is created when you do the pull request. And if you want to see the pull request itself that is created, it's got one that was closed here. once the IDE creates the pull request, you have to come here and just approve that, just to merge that pull request. Once you merge that pull request, the GitHub actions will be triggered. So in that one, you can see that the files, in this case, he created all the manifest files, and he created the workflow, okay? Everything was created for you. And before you approve, the nice thing here, before you approve that pull request, you can change it. If you want to change something, you can change. Let's say, I think normally people would change, the cluster IP to be cluster IP, not load balancer.
All
Not,
right.
to avoid Azure to create like a load balancer for your application. You just use cluster IP. But you could change anything before you merge the code. And you can see, if you understand, Kubernetes manifest, you could change and before you merge this pull request. So that's how it works. And once that that pull request is done, they just go and run that deployment. Let's get the last one. You're going to understand. So they build the image on Azure Container Registry and then deploy. If you watch the deployment phase, get context, create namespace, deploy application. You're going to see that application be deployed for you on that GitHub Actions. That's how it works. So, at the end of the day, you have this nice demo that you can follow. Is this one here probably? Let me walk you through here the demo.
Yeah.
The same repository that you talk about. So you go on Kubernetes, you create same way that we did. You can go straight to deploy application, and then follow the same steps. In this case here, on this video, that's on the AKS community, the AKS community YouTube channel. You can, in this case, he's just asking, the ID, the UI, the portal to create all the manifest files, generating all the files. And nice thing, if I stop here for a while, you can see that all those configuration now being created for you. Let's say pod disruption budget, that normally to tell how many minimal instance of your application will be running at all times.
Yeah.
So all these more advanced things that are important for AKS Automatic, because remember, AKS Automatic now, you need those configurations because you're going to be creating those node pools automatically. If you don't define the minimal disruption that you need for your application, then they're going to stop, too many pods. Let's say you have have like 5 instances of your front end doing load balancing. You want to make sure that you say, I want to at least 3 running at all times.
Yeah.
Then they're just going to stop one at the time instance to upgrade or to move to another physical machine. That's very important, those definition now. And then that, IDE can do that for you as well. That out generation now can do that. So yeah, the same. I think we saw that already. Create namespace. You do Azure monitoring. And yeah, once you deploy, there you go. That's the pull request. You can see everything that was changed. And yeah, and once you merge, the pipeline start running, everything's going to deploy, and then you have your application running. In this case, you can see that's a public load balancer here. You see on the top, the IP number.
The IP address, yeah.
It is IP address, but I think we're going to show on this demo that you can go here on Azure Portal now and can change the way that you scale the application. Remember the CADA outscaling? You have this on Azure Portal now. You can go and create a scaling that you want, how many replicas, but based on
Replica.
CPU. If
Yeah.
CPU goes more than 60, very similar to web servers, Azure Container Apps.
Correct.
So yeah, it's going to work, and it's going to do like a load testing here. See, the instance changing.
Just increasing. Yeah.
That's increasing the instance. See how many loads, because the loading, he's just doing like a load testing. And now look at it. I'm going to stop. See the nodes. How many nodes you have now?
Yeah.
And then once you stop, then you're going to scale down. And another thing is the observability. You can enable that, platform metrics, but you can also do Prometheus community alerts. So it's kind of recommended alerts that you have a button there, recommended alerts. You can now define these. That's the video that you can watch. Very, very quick one. That's on, let me just show you the Azure Kubernetes Service channel. And there's also this full video that's 2.5 hours where you can see nice things on observability at the end. It's very nice. And I would recommend you to watch the whole video because they're going to explain exactly, the whole thing. Even the slide that I did show here, I recommend you to watch like both of those videos. So if I go back on my existing cluster here, I can show these new dashboards that I was talking about.
Yeah.
So now inside the Azure Monitor, you have the Grafana dashboards. And look at this, you have all these Grafana dashboards here out of the box.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then say, okay, I want to use like a standard Grafana dashboard. You can go on the gallery, and that's the gallery here, open here. When you click on that button, open this gallery, and you can just search for, for something that you want to play. I think one nice thing that people show on the video is this Nginx. And how do we just go click here on Nginx? And the only thing you need to import, it's very similar to the fully managed Grafana when you create on Azure Grafana. You just need that that Grafana ID here. That's ID, copy ID for clipboard.
Yeah.
You go back there and you go import, get this ID, load, and then you can go Nginx, dashboard. So scroll up here. Is that Nginx dashboard is invalid? What's that? Has to be the name that he created.
Yeah.
What's that? Nginx. Okay. Come on. So hang on. Try again. So you can bring any dashboard pretty much. And just here you have to give me your instance. I think was that one. Yeah, there you go. You could go Nginx for sure. You can. So you're going to bring this new dashboard, any dashboard that you want from here. You now have this available.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's
I like
very
the
powerful.
integration. Yeah.
And you don't need now a fully, managed Grafana separate thing. You can just use all the dashboards. If you have a dashboard that you created on your company, you can just import here as well.
Which makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can bring the ones that's for the gallery you can. So yeah, you can start showing, getting the metrics. Oh, that sounds interesting.
Oh, it is. I think like things are just becoming more and more connected, and rather than well, because of the simplification, you basically, well, Azure, well, you had like before like Kubernetes, its own sort of bubble, but now Azure is just like providing more like supports, right, for running or orchestrating together with Kubernetes, the maintenance and like the deployments. So there are lots of new smarts in there, and that's I think
Yeah,
the integration with the Azure Monitor and Grafana as a service, uh, it makes sense, right? Because Azure had that already supports, but there was a disconnect, right, when AKS came across. But now
yeah,
things are there, right? So that's it makes sense. Yeah, I like how things are improving with AKS. That's pretty good.
yeah. As you can see here, that's the demo app I was trying to deploy before. Um, I think you still can see all the Kubernetes things. It's not it's hidden for you. You still have access to Kubernetes. Let's say storefront. I think that one that I deployed on this cluster is not going to work because I haven't fully deployed that. But see, once you deploy, if it's a load balancer, the same way that AKS works, it's going to work here. It's just that you don't have to manage the whole thing,
Yeah.
but still have access to the whole API. And see, I even connected earlier here my AKS cluster. So if I do kubectl, get pods, um, if I get all pods, I'm going to get everything. So it's still working. See my store admin that's running.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's probably not running because I haven't completed the deployment. But see, anything that you deploy will be working the same way that the AKS works. You still have features like backups and become kind of a platform as well. It's more powerful, the container apps, I think, because it's more flexible. And another thing people use on AKS is like the service mesh. You can even configure service mesh here.
UI for
So
that. Yeah.
yeah, so these more advanced things that used to be more complex to do it, you can do now also on AKS Automatic. So you could enable, a service mesh, more advanced features on AKS. You can also have these available. I'm not going to details because it'd be too complex, depending on the UI use case. If you just do the same thing that you're doing on container apps, that's pretty much
Yeah.
enough for you to just manage scaling.
Hmm.
But sometimes for some reason, Azure Container Apps not enough for your application. You now have these things that be more flexible. Even networking will be here as well, service mesh, GitOps, things that not always available on these other platforms. But you still have all the power of Kubernetes. Means that if you're going to scale now with AI, where are you going to deploy your agents? Like if you're building agents that are
Hmm.
going to be used by, I don't know, thousands of people, millions of people, rest assured that you have to use Kubernetes. There's no way that you make money, deploying AI agents like for thousands of people if you're not running inside a Kubernetes cluster because it'll be so expensive.
Yeah.
Remember, you build these agents now, these MCP servers, that you have to scale these things, and then you have MCP server now that's consumed by Copilot, by ChatGPT, by
Hmm.
any,
Yeah.
AI platform using MCP, and then, wow, what kind of a level of scale you need that?
Yeah.
So Will be a lot of companies that need people that understand that. Okay, if you look companies like I would say Atlassian, that's very well known here in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
They're using Kubernetes. I don't know which platform they use, but it is Kubernetes. So you have to understand Kubernetes, and AKS Automatic is very nice to get started and to understand that you're going to need that. If you have a startup and you're going to create things for AI, that's pretty much should be AI, be everywhere. And
Mm-hmm.
now MCP server is the new API. So it's pretty much you call the AI call the MCP servers that call your API. So you now have two
Yeah.
problems. You have to scale the MCP server and you have to scale your API.
Yeah.
Because MCP server sometimes is a wrapper, like an agent. There's a kind of a workflow, but it's also consume not just one API, multiple APIs.
Yeah.
You have to make sure that your API now can scale as well. Not just, when you talk about scalability, you have to scale all the layers, not just the front end, not just the AI, you have to scale everything. So, yeah, there's one thing I was telling to show was the Azure policy. Remember I said safeguards? When you
Mm-hmm.
create a
Yep.
cluster, if you go inside Azure policy compliance, see, there is no compliance here. There's something missing here on that cluster that they created. So
Mm-hmm.
they're going to give you all the policies, and there is one here that's not. Kubernetes cluster container image should not include latest image tag. So
Yeah.
you should not use a latest, should have a version number, version 1, version 2. So in this case, is denied. That's why my deployment failed because it was denied.
Yeah. Was that like
That's
related
why my
to
deployment
that
failed.
your deployment?
Yep. So
All
that's
right.
why my deployment failed because my image was tagged with latest. So the demo app have to tell AKS people, look, it's not working because there's a policy now blocking that. So
Mm-hmm.
see,
Yeah.
and you have things like memory limits. So those are the best practice to safeguard your cluster. But yeah, for sure you could go inside one. I'm going to keep this update for you as well. But yeah, inside each
Mm-hmm.
policy, you're going to see, that was
Yeah.
applied on this cluster here. So it's very powerful. It's very powerful. You can use all the power of Azure. There you go. See, my deployment was failing there.
Yeah.
See, fail, but at least we could show something here. We could show that fail because AKS Automatic was blocking you using the safeguards, the policy. And the
Mm-hmm.
way that this works is there is a project on AKS, normal AKS, they call Open Policy Agent. That's all for like a open source on CNCF that integrates Azure Policy with a Kubernetes cluster. So that's how they apply Azure Policy on the Kubernetes cluster itself. And there you go. That's why my deployment didn't work. That's pretty much we could go, on and on here. But if you have any question, if not, watching the full, videos and start, playing with that. You don't have to manage a cluster anymore. You just have to come in here, create a cluster, and deploy. Just learn how to deploy or use the automated deployments to learn how to do it. There's a lot of tools, even on VS Code now. If you go on Kubernetes extension or things like that, there is also ways to create manifest from here. See, that's my cluster. I can even access from here.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just, there you go. I have workloads, deployments. I have to go on namespace. Let me just change namespace. I have to go, let's go this one. Use namespace. Yeah, but be sure that if you're going deployments, you can start using these to look the manifest, making changes. And if using, like the GitHub Actions approach,
Yeah.
you could just, look in your code. Remember, if you're using GitOps approach, you have to come here on the YAML file, update, create a pull request, measure of your code, and GitHub Actions is going to redeploy your application.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
how that works pretty much here. So how I fix that my one there, I have to make sure that there is no in this case
No
control to have
latest.
the latest here, okay. But the one that they deploy from the portal, like the trial app,
Uh-huh.
they're probably using the latest version here. But yeah, pretty much say that one latest, not
Yeah.
going to work.
This one.
Yeah, but no, but the pipeline is kind of injecting, the version number here.
How the
Um,
pipeline is doing that.
the pipeline is injecting when they build the container image, they changing
Mm-hmm.
that on the pipeline itself here. So should work. So is that work? Make sure that anything that you do on the Azure portal is nice for development, but you have to make sure that if you're using GitOps approach, you always update your YAML files on GitHub to make sure that reflects what you're changing from here as well. Hope
Yeah.
this makes sense.
Oh, it does.
And
As a developer, in general, provisioning those environments is not something that or I can say that we get to do it, but understanding how it works is really important, right? So that's why we have like sessions like yours and others like come and bring like other insights, right? Because it's not us as developers working in our bubble, but understanding how the environment works makes things or life easier when you need to troubleshoot or
yep,
understand like what's happening right behind the scenes. We got like a question here
sure.
from Vic. Vic Perdana, any idea when automation would support Windows?
Ooh, that's a trick one. I think Windows will be on AKS, not automatic for a while. I don't think I don't
It's
know. I have to
automatic,
check. I
yeah.
have to check, the pipeline if there is any plan. I don't think yet because there are dependents on these no doubt provisioning thing. Yeah, maybe in the future, but I don't think anytime soon. But could be wrong. Team could be really working hard on that. Yeah, it's just for Linux at the moment, AKS Automatic. If you're using Windows containers, pick on AKS. But yeah, it's a great question. And don't forget, documentation is there. You can even this nice one that compares AKS standard with AKS Automatic. I recommend that one. Let me try put here on the. Can
Yeah.
you put on the private chat? You can share
On
that.
the private chat, I can copy and put
Yeah,
it there.
yeah. I'm not sure if you did share the videos as well, but let me share. Um, let me share this one and this one. Make sure that everyone's going to watch this.
Hmm.
It's so important. And then, um, yeah, from the documentation here, you can compare. If you use AKS before, you can compare automatic and AKS standard. AKS standard means the traditional AKS we now call standard to make sure that we separate both. We identify
Hmm.
the difference. Now is automatic and standard. So yeah, I can see application deployment. You can use automate deployments. So in monitoring, there is a manage, Prometheus, so you don't have to create the full manage Grafana thing. And I can see here that the manage Grafana now is optional.
Yeah.
So in this case here, you need manage Grafana. In this one is optional. Okay. So it's a big improvement. If it's saving as well, because now you don't need that. And for scaling, no dot provisioning or no dot provisioning on AKS standard will be optional. So you can use as well. So it's a good way, there is a transition. You can even move, back to standard if you want.
Hmm.
Um, So yeah, like scaling is pre-configured. You have this optional on AKS. You don't have to use SCADA. Here is like you have to. So pretty much everything on AKS Automatic is pre-configured. It's
Yeah.
kind of the best practice that we believe, and you have to stick with that. And there are some things that are optional that you can change if you want. So the manage namespace will be optional as well in both.
Hmm.
Networking ingress with the service mesh is optional. So if you're using STU as a service mesh, you can use a different, ingress. Um, and that's very powerful as well. But you have Nginx pre-configured.
Comes pre-configured. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's a good documentation for you to understand the difference that I was showing because you can show
Hmm.
everything. The service mesh
Yeah.
optional in both. So you can bring your service mesh as well on the AKS Automatic, not just STU. So that's
Yeah.
very flexible. So yeah, have a look on the difference. Go on the quick start yourself. Deploy the first application. You can use the deployment safeguards, understand a little bit more. It's all on the documentation here on the um, on the Kubernetes itself. You have the safeguard for both pretty much, and the namespace that's in preview. So AKS Automatic is GA, but namespace is in preview for both Kubernetes and standard and automatic. That's pretty much what I have today.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Thanks for the walkthrough, for bringing like those and highlighting like the differences, right? I think as you come like to the session, you don't know like the difference of what's say AKS standard with automatic, and you're just pinpointing that comes pre-configured. It just automates a lot of plumbing for you, just following like the best practices, right? See, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was
And keep
very,
that
very
updated.
comprehensive.
Maintain that for,
Yeah,
maintain the cluster, maintain everything that was shown on the slides. That's all done for you.
yeah,
So it's a good way for you to share, like, watch this video, the guide, if the operation team said we don't want to use that, we can now show the documentation, show the
yeah.
videos, and even present for them. Oh, that's simplified now. Um, and be more flexibility sometimes than the other service. So it's something in between, like container instance or container apps,
Hmm.
even app service and Azure Kubernetes service. Then have this option that will be easier to maintain and so at the same time powerful. And remember, with the no-dot provisioning, you're going to save a lot of money as well.
Yeah, yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, there are lots of like optimizations or ways of for you like uh, well, the Azure team or AKS team thought about like cost saving, just to see like that
Yeah.
rather than leveraging like those scale
Yeah.
sets, you
If
have
you do
that
a summary,
already
the
managed
main
for
thing,
you.
yeah, yeah. If you do like a summary, three things would be, like, yeah, simplify operation, but still have all the powerful and access to the API of the thing, the service, and then have the costing saving as well. So, and become this, option that's not fully operational, so more flexible for the companies to, to choose going forward. So don't just say that's not for me because most of our workloads need that scalability and security and things that fully integrate with Azure as well, with policy safeguards, networking, Key Vault, Azure DNS. There's so many things there. So that's the power of, I think, AKS Automatic.
Oh, nice. Thanks, George, for coming sharing with us in October on annual base. Yeah. It's I know it's nice having you here. And thank for being available, because I know how busy you are, and you always make the time to come and share with
No, it
us.
was my pleasure to Let me just share here also my, if you can post there my LinkedIn, just make sure that people connect with me. If you want to
All
connect
right.
with me directly, and the Azure tab that we're going to publish this video as well.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah. If
your
you want to
LinkedIn.
follow, if you want to connect, I love to connect and talk. Send your, message. Tell me when you see something that we publish. Even we have the Open at Microsoft show now that I recommend you guys to follow. So it's a playlist on the Microsoft Developer Channel. And we just announced this week the agent framework, the new agent framework.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you wanna just share this for 1 second here, just a second, because I think
There,
it'd be
there,
nice.
there are lots of news, right? That came like last week
Yep.
uh, with the Microsoft Agent framework. That was like pretty good. People just excited, and yeah, I think knowing as well with the AKS Automatic, it's also like people are just like very happy about that going GA as well.
Yeah. If you go YouTube, let me see if this one,
Mhm.
just one yet. My history. Yeah, just GitHub. Soft. There you go. Let me share here.
All right.
So we publish this video, and then we can also I can also copy here.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one, and the new agent framework. Make sure that you leave a star. You have 2.6 in 4 days already. 2.6
Wow.
thousand in 4 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this video is very popular. I think we're going to 16,000 views already on the
Yeah.
yeah, 16,000 views, and you can go on the framework. Is a unification now of semantic kernel and autogen in a single framework. So I do recommend you to watch the video and follow this new framework. There'll be Python and .NET available from day one. That's in preview, but that's the new thing, the way to build AI agents. I recommend you to follow both.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks for bringing like
Thank
those
you.
details. All the links are shared, so people come, they're gonna
Great.
be able to see things in there. And but thank you again, George.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
like your time, and like maybe next time, maybe sooner, not necessarily
Yeah.
on October next year. But yeah, I'm glad that you came, and
Let's
you're
do
invited to come
something
back
about
again.
agent framework. Maybe invite someone, but I'm happy to talk about agent framework as well
Yeah, we can plan for that. Yeah, for sure.
in C
Well, I'd
Sharp.
like just to close like the session, just like thanking you, George, and thank you to the audience for coming and staying with us. Yeah, I think we're just finishing. Any last words, George?
No, good. Thank you for follow the channels, and yeah, follow us, follow Marcel and Azure Time and those shows, and hopefully we see you guys soon.
Cool. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, bye.